Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Another street photography video from downtown Bellevue, this time with a change. And the change is I'm using a prime lens, and the prime lens for this video is the Fujinon XF 50mm f2. I really like this lens. I don't use it enough, and I'm not sure why. It's such a great lens. It's so small and it's so light. It's amazing image quality and really quick and quiet autofocus. Plus, on camera, because it's so small, it's very unobtrusive. You can really be unnoticed while you're out doing photos with this on your camera, which is something I like in my street photography. Of course, I did also take with my just-in-case lens, which is the 70 to 300mm, as there is still some ongoing construction and new construction. You'll see a couple photos from that lens in the video. I'm sure you can figure out which ones. So let's talk about the 50mm and why I like it so much when I use it, and try to figure out why I don't use it more. So here's some thoughts on that. The reason I like it so much when I use it is because of focal length I kind of like to see in. So 50mm on a crop sensor is roughly 75mm equivalent on a full frame. So we're kind of getting into medium telephoto territory or low-ish telephoto territory, which is a focal length and field of view I like. I like simplified field of views. I like smaller, closer, a little more intimate, for want of a better phrase. So this lens speaks really well to that. And because it's so small and light, it's so easy to use. So I think the only reason I don't use it more is because it's not quite enough telephoto. When I usually have the 16 to 80 on my camera, I tend to be close to the 80mm most of the time. That's just what I do. I tend to, whatever telephoto lens I have, I push to the telephoto. So that's me. But it's a great lens, and it's a good, get you just a little bit closer to your subject lens. Again, simplify scenes by putting less stuff in the scene. So it's a great lens to have. It's relatively affordable. There's a few of them on the used market now for even better value. So highly, highly recommend this lens. So a couple more thoughts before the slideshow. First, I've had a couple people request, how do you edit your photos? So after the photo slideshow you will see next, I'll do a short little take on how I edit photos in Lightroom Classic and show you briefly my process. And then secondly, as I was creating the slideshow, because I do the slideshow before I do this talking to camera piece, I noticed I missed a bunch of photos. Looking at the POV video, there's a whole bunch of photos I missed, and I'm glad I have those POV videos to remind me of that, to remind me to slow down even a little more, and to be glad that I go out so often to find those photos I missed previously. So that's my attitude about this. I know I missed some photos. We all always do. But having the attitude of next time, which is such a hopeful phrase, I feel good about the next time I go out to make a photo. So that's kind of my TED Talk thought for these photos. Also, you'll notice there wasn't a lot of busyness, not a lot of people on the streets this day. That's relatively common for downtown Bellevue. It's not super busy, and even though there's a lot of return to office folks, there's still not as many as there used to be. So it's, even though it's a relatively big city, it's a pretty quiet as far as people city, even in the middle of the day. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on these photos you're about to see, and using the 50mm f2, which is quite an awesome lens. If you have any thoughts, comments, suggestions, you know I welcome those, so please leave those in the comments below. I hope you enjoy these photos, and I also hope you stay tuned after the photos for a brief conversation about how I edit photos in Lightroom Classic, at least my general approach. So enjoy the photos, and I'll see you in Lightroom in a few minutes. again, welcome to Lightroom Classic. This will be a brief conversation about how I approach editing photos in my world. So we're going to start with this photo from the video you just watched, and as you can see, straight out of camera, this is the raw file. In camera, I do use the classic Chrome film simulation to kind of pre-visualize where I want to start with things. And then the first thing I do in Lightroom Classic is apply that simulation of the simulation, so Adobe simulation of classic Chrome, to the file. And then we're going to edit from there. The first thing I start with edits is a crop to see if the photo needs any cropping. This one doesn't. It doesn't really need any straightening either. So we're going to skip the crop tool and move on down. So here's where we're going to end up with the photo. Here's the after. So we're going to end up something like this. So I'll walk you through the steps and we'll see how this goes. My general approach to editing photos is I want to have a look to my photos. I want to finish my photos to look the way I want them to feel and what I want people hopefully to feel when they look at the photos. So I try not to be super obvious with my edits. I try and keep it subtle, although I'm starting to lean a little bit more into pushing colors around. So your mileage may vary. So first thing we'll do is we'll take a look at color. I think we're okay on color. I might go just a little more blue with the temperature. If I do that, I'll tend to push the tint just a little towards the green from where it was. We'll start there. We'll probably come back to that. Exposure, I'm going to leave alone for now. Actually, I'm going to make it just a little bit brighter. And then contrast, I'll punch that up a little bit because I usually do that. Another thing to think about as you're editing photos, the values I'm entering here to get the look that you'll see on screen are very specific to my camera in this situation. So if you applied these same values to photos out of a different camera, it would look very different, even if you were standing in the same spot on the same day making the same photo with a different camera. So your mileage may vary again, but here's my general approach. All right, so heading down through things, again, highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks. I tend to pull the blacks down. Again, it's another way to increase contrast. I'm going to skip down to the tone curve and quickly just apply a little S curve. That's something I like to do on the photos. It's pretty subtle, but I like it. This photo needs a little help in the clarity and such department, the presence. So again, I'm doing this quick. So if I do have videos, I have playlists about how I edit in Lightroom. So if you want to go a little bit more in depth, see those. For me, I like a texture 30, clarity on photos like this of about 20, and dehaze at around 10. So that's just my global approach to editing photos like this. Now, having said that, if there's people in the photos, I will hardly ever use dehaze because especially if there's a face present, it doesn't look good on faces. Next, what we're going to do is there's a little down here in the bottom left corner, a little piece of a tree. So we're going to get rid of that with the healing tool. Just a quick little click there to get rid of that. And there we go. That's gone. We'll go down to the color mixer. Again, this is my general approach to color. What I do is in the HSL, I'll take the hues for the reds, orange, and yellows to somewhere between -12 and -15. It just kind of ends up. I should probably make a preset for this, but I haven't yet. And then the greens I'll bump up to about +14. Aquas and blues I'll move -15, -16. So what I'm doing is moving things a little warmer and I'm shifting the blues away from purple. My camera has a little bit of magenta, pink, purple in the blues, especially in the sky, so I try to move away from that. Next, down to color grading. I head into the shadows. I add some blues to the shadows. Kind of what I do is I mimic the colors I've got back here. This color blue is, the hue is 206, so that's what I'm going to mimic in my edit here. And then the orange red here is a hue of 6 on those lights. So again, I kind of mimic that in my edits. It's just a color I like. It's a personality thing. Again, you do what works for you. Saturation on the hue, I'll just turn that up a little bit, usually somewhere between 25 and 40. The hue of midtones, I go to about 48 there. usually, and we'll turn that up a little bit. So I might go a little more, because that's a little green in this. We're getting some green here. So I'll probably go back down to 36, get it a little more into the warmers. And then the hue in the highlights, I'll do right around 6, which is a kind of warm pink, and turn that up a little bit. So we're warming this up a little bit. I know this sculpture here is actually white, and it's showing up as a little warmer orangey tones in this, and I'm okay with that for now. I may come back and address that. Lastly, what I do is I go down to effects. I go to vignette. I add a little vignettes to the corners. I kind of like that look. So there you go. Last but not least, we need to look at this and just kind of do some more fine tuning. So I come back up to exposure. I'll turn it up just a little bit, make it a little happier. So I'm at about +1 there on this photo. I'm going to leave highlight shadows and whites alone. Vibrance, another thing I tend to do on photos out of my Fujifilm camera applied with the classic chrome film simulation in Lightroom, is I'll turn the vibrance up to about +30, and then I'll pull the saturation down just a little bit to somewhere between -6 and -10. So that's kind of a general quick approach. Again, we've moved a little into yellows here. So what I'll do is a couple things. I'm just going to see what the eyedropper tool wants to do to get the correct white balance. So click on that. It looks a little pink here. Noticed it nudged the tint over to 18. So I'll just drop the tint back down just a little bit. So yeah, you can see one of my approaches is back and forth. I'll start with addressing the things I know I want to always address, and I'll apply those things and then adjust other things, values based on those other things I did. Global edits are fine for now. I'm happy with this photo, and we're done. That's my general approach to editing in Lightroom. The short summary version is, I look at Lightroom as a way to finish photos. So I'm not trying to fix a photo necessarily. I will fix some elements of the photo, but the overall photo needs to start off as something I like, and then that's where I make the edits from. So hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about Lightroom and want to ask specifically, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll be glad to address those potentially in a future video or reply to your comments. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. I think I might be going to Seattle for some street photos next time, so stay tuned for that. So until we meet again in a future video, I hope you stay safe, stay well, and have fun creating photos. Bye for now.